Hello and welcome to a Purchasing Insight presentation on procurement process and an introduction to the use of a procurement process template to help with a procurement project. What's covered in this presentation? In about 10 minutes we'll show you how to use a procurement process template to help to hit the ground running with a procurement project and avoid some of the pitfalls that can be encountered in a procurement project. We'll show you how to deliver your project to a professional standard and how to get further support and information for free. Where does this fit? Let's be very clear. In 10 minutes we can't teach anyone how to be a procurement expert. However, a process template can be very useful in supporting a project in a number of circumstances where full-time procurement support isn't available. It may be that you're part of a small, medium-sized organisation that simply doesn't have professional procurement support. It could be that the procurement project isn't core to your main business, or that your procurement team is too thinly stretched. It may be that your procurement project is highly technical, and in many circumstances it's more important to have a technical expert with some procurement knowledge than it is to have a procurement expert with a limited amount of technical knowledge. And for the procurement professional, this kind of process template can be useful in supporting your non-procurement colleagues in a project team. So why follow a standard procurement process? Why follow a procurement process at all? Most obviously, it's so that you can learn from others' mistakes. You don't have to make your own mistakes. The template provides a framework to save time and, importantly, help to avoid acquiring a solution that doesn't meet the business needs. It will show you ways of working to ensure that you pay the right price, and it will help you avoid overlooking any vital steps in the process. Another really important aspect is that we're using a standard process here. Potential suppliers will be familiar with this and they'll know what to expect. And perhaps most importantly, you'll minimize the risk of making a costly mistake. A few words of warning though. I mentioned earlier, 10 minutes can't make you a procurement expert. Every project is different and you need to adapt standard generic processes to meet the situation that you find yourself in. Some projects are very, very easy and straightforward, and the use of a detailed generic process template can be overkill. Use the parts of the process that are relevant and important. At the other end of the spectrum, some projects are highly complex or regulated by law or industry guidelines, and it may be that you need to follow detailed processes that simply can't be covered in a generic process template. But all procurement projects do follow the same broad process. But let common sense prevail. Adapt to meet the circumstances that you're in. Let's have a look at the process itself. The process is divided into 5 stages. Stage 1. Define the business need. The objectives of this stage are to capture the detailed business requirements, and secondly, to obtain full stakeholder buy-in to the project. Before you start this stage, you need to ensure that you know who all of the stakeholders are and that you know how to engage with them. And you need to know what the basic business requirement is. At the end of this stage, you'll have a formal business requirement statement, you'll have confirmed buy-in from all stakeholders, and you'll have a rough idea of the project budget. Stage 2, develop the procurement strategy. The objectives of this stage are to understand the procurement timescales and to evaluate the current environment. That's the internal environment and the market environment, so that you can develop the most appropriate approach. Before you start this stage, you need to ensure that you've completed the previous stage and that you have a formal business requirement statement. You have resources identified to support the project and they need to be committed. And you need to have made sure that you have full buy-in from all stakeholders. At the end of this stage, you'll have a procurement plan, a detailed estimated budget that's signed off, and you'll have some detailed market research. Stage 3, supplier evaluation and selection. The objectives of this stage are to select the right suppliers and the solution to be taken forward to the final negotiation. Before you start this stage, you need to make sure you've completed the previous stages and have a procurement strategy agreed and signed off, and have detailed market research completed. At the end of this stage, you will have a short list of suppliers and you'll have an agreed procurement approach with those suppliers. Stage 4, negotiation and award of contract. The purpose of this stage is to complete negotiations and select the best supplier and to award the contract. Before you begin this stage, you need to make sure you've completed previous stages and in particular have the filtered list of suppliers with whom to negotiate. And at the end of this stage, you'll have an agreed set of purchase to pay processes and key performance indicators and a signed contract. Final stage, stage 5, induction and integration. The purpose of this stage is to ensure that the supplier is fully prepared and able to deliver all aspects of the contract. It's to ensure that all parties, both within the supplier and internally, are familiar with and have agreed the purchase to pay policies and procedures. And thirdly, to initiate relevant performance measures and reporting. Before you begin this stage, you need to make sure that all previous stages are being completed. In particular, you have the signed contract in place, that your purchase to pay policies and procedures have been agreed, and that your service level agreements and key performance indicators have been agreed and understood by all parties. At the end of this stage, you will have met your original business requirement. You will have noticed that there's a lot of detail beneath all of these stages, and if you want to look into more detail at this process, you can visit purchasinginsight.com and use the interactive process diagram that you'll find linked from the first page. Thank you for listening.